Hi, I'm Maria, and today I'm going to make a pumpkin seed macaroon with an apple butter filling. The first thing to do is make the filling because that has to cool before we assemble it all. Start off with a pound of apples. These are Macintosh, which are a good baking apple. If you go apple picking and you've got some bruised ones at the bottom, apple butter is a great thing to do with it. To that I'm going to add apple cider. You want to use apple cider and not apple juice. Apple cider has the sediment in it, which doesn't sound good, but it's the all of the meat and the pulp from the apples, and apple juice is a lot sweeter, and that'll take it over the top. Pinch of salt. Now I'm adding ground ginger. This is a vanilla bean, just a quarter of a vanilla bean. Gives it a nice flavor, and what I'm going to do, you can kind of see it's got all these tiny little seeds. I'm just going to scrape that into there. And they don't really want to come out too fast, but it's okay because we're going to boil it off and then scrape it again. Next, we're going to add some lemon peel, and I'm just going to peel this right in. Just a few. Just like that. And then I'll cover it, bring it to a boil, and let it simmer for 10 minutes. All right, so the apples are nice and soft. All we're going to do is take out the that little vanilla bean, because we don't want to puree that fiber out, but we do want the seeds. We'll just kind of scrape it out into the pot. Get all the good stuff. If you don't have vanilla beans, you can use vanilla extract, totally fine, but the bean's really nice. All right. Now you could put this in a blender if you want. I'm just using my little hand blender. Just going to go right back in the pan. And you'll see little bits of the apple or peel and the lemon peel in there. Totally fine. Give you a little bit more texture in your filling. Just going to add a little sugar, and that's going to bulk it up. This will be sweeter than a normal apple butter, but very tasty. And now, as this starts to come to the boil, I'm going to stir this really well. Once it gets hot, it'll bubble up, and if you're not careful, it'll start burning you. So keep stirring for about 15 minutes until it's nice and thick, and then let it cool completely. All right, so now I'm doing the meringue part of the macaroon. And normally that's done with almond flour, but I'm using pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. These are already toasted and salted. You could toast your own from raw and then add like a half teaspoon of salt. Start off just the pumpkin seeds and grind them up. All right, so that's fairly fine. We don't want it to turn into pumpkin butter because that would be bad. So we're adding our powdered sugar, and the cornstarch in there will help keep it from getting too sticky. All right, so that is our pumpkin seed sugar. Now, you do have to sift it at this point. I've eliminated all sorts of steps people often do with macaroons. You don't have to let your egg whites sit. You don't have to strain your egg whites. In the end, we don't have to let the batter rest, but you do have to sift the powdered sugar. Because you see, it's kind of clumpy. All right, now that's ready to go. And now we move on to the meringue. Egg whites, room temperature. I'm going to start these slowly, like on a 3 until you get some bubbles in it, and then bump it up. I'm going to add a pinch of salt too, and that relaxes the proteins in the egg whites and lets them get nice and fluffy. Now that it's foamy, I'm going to add in like a tablespoon of sugar at a time, and that'll help stabilize the whites. And now I'm going to bump up the speed. Once you start seeing tracks, you want to start checking it. That's not done enough. This would be soft peaks, but we want it to be pretty firm. All right, so there we go. Nice firm peaks. Firm. And it's going to deflate a bit as you add the sugar, and that's why you want it pretty firm. So we're just adding about 1/3 of our nicely sifted sugar in. Then we'll fold it. And at first it might seem like it's never going to come together, but it will. It will. All right, so there it is, all incorporated, and now I'm going to transfer to a piping bag and pipe them out. Now, a nifty trick, if you have a nice piping bag, nice big one, you can put it in a vase and it holds it while you fill it. Very easy, very handy. Now we just want to pipe these out. You want like about an inch, inch and a half, just like that. Bloop. Fairly evenly spaced. You can put them fairly close together. This is going to make about 2 dozen cookies, which means about 48 of these little circles. Doop. And we're just going to pipe out this whole sheet and then give it a wrap to get out the air bubbles and kind of smooth some of these funky tops. All right, so once we have this all piped out, I'm going to give this a couple wraps to kind of flatten them out. And you do want to have this on parchment or like a silicone baking mat because you're going to have to peel them off at the end, and if you put it straight on the metal, they would not come off. I'm going to pipe the other pan, and then these are going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 13 minutes. Here they are out of the oven, nice and cool. You want this little ridge around the edge, that's called the foot. And these aren't exactly all the same size, so when you're making your little sandwiches, you want to find ones that are the same size and match them up. And if you have one that's really big or really small that doesn't have a mate, you eat it and hide the evidence. So we're just going to smear a nice dollop of our apple butter on top, give it a lid, squish it together, and there it is. You want to let these sit for, I don't know, a few hours at least. You can make them the day before because they really kind of meld the filling to the meringue, and that's what you want. All right, so there you have it, pumpkin seed macaroons with apple butter.